Hello everyone, welcome back for more tinfoil hat nonsense 13 Sentinels recap. We have... I did not count the number of videos this time. I think it's 10 videos to go through this time. Five, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's about 10. Okay.
Wait, you said tinfoil hat.
Yeah, for 10 videos.
Damn it, I only have aluminium foil.
We got plenty of Hershey's Kisses.
Perhaps I could wield those and like, consume enough of those and make a hat out of that foil.
We actually only have to do 9, because one of them is theorizing. One of them is just me rambling, much like this video. Only this video recaps a whole lot more. But yes, as you hear, joining me will be StarPrincessHLC.
Yakisoba pan.
That's over here.
Yes.
Even though they cannot see my cursor, I can highlight the thing. And JK Lantern.
Yakisoba-yan.
I wonder if that's actually a thing.
I'm afraid to look.
And sadly, Layla will not be joining us because life commitments are a thing. And why did it expand there?
She's reaching higher education.
She is going for higher education, yeah.
She has found a giant robot and needs to save us all.
From the corkboard.
But yes, the corkboard is... I've got
Layla
a lot of
wasn't...
empty space here, so...
Layla was in Sentinel 18 the whole time.
I think she would know if she was.
What? Are you sure about that?
Eventually, yes. Because let's face it, even the worst we've seen, they haven't forgotten what Sentinel they pilot unless they get a total mind wipe.
Layla's totally in Sentinel 18.
But also, I don't know if we've actually covered much of that by this point in the videos. But anyway, we continue on where we left off. We are at video 22, and this was a combat video. So before combat, Goto pops up and says they're going to split into 2 groups, one for attack and one for defense. Then she asks what the point of splitting up is, and Yuki also chimes in. But Ryoko pops up, says they're going to need some protection. One of the few times we've seen Ryoko up until now. As Kaiju will burrow underground, and the Sentinels won't be useful if they actually make it. Renya says they can't let a single one through. Takatoshi follows up, says he'll be on the front lines. Ninji says he'll also be there. And Juro says, hey guys, there are aerial units here. You may want to hold back a bit. And they can kind of predict what enemies they're going to see, and we can base our squads on that. Takatoshi, however, is still just amped up to join in the fighting, but Okino kind of whispers in his ear and suggests looking at the Sentinels and seeing if there's some decent refit options for upgrades. Okino tells everyone that the meta chips they've been earning can be used to upgrade the Sentinels and terminals, as well as create new weapons. And Takatoshi asks why he didn't say anything sooner, and Okino says this is new and untested. Kind of a weird way, as far as I'm concerned, to make the whole upgrade system part of the meta, but it works in this. It works in this instance.
I mean, it totally feels kind of clumsy to me. Definitely.
It's still a little bit clumsy, but, it does kind of work in the instance. I can't talk about it any more than that, really, yet. So that was video 22, video 23. See, video 22, we spent some time talking. And then, you know, it's the whole... That was all basically before combat. Video 23 is the actual combat scenario, where we are up to the first area of the Ashitaba City, Battle 1. And this looks like it's still following immediately after the beginning of the end. We're now at 5:26 p.m., still at May 27th, and they're still not mentioning what year it is. And from this point on, in the battle scenes, I'm only going to note speaking characters, and they're all going to be kind of assumed to be over communications, because all 13 pilots and Okino are there from this point forward. So we actually begin the scene, and Tomi mentions walking in the Sentinels kind of rough. She's getting a cramp-like pressure in her legs. Iori says it's weird seeing Tomi in the Sentinel, and Tomi replies she heard about the dreams Iori's been having, but she figured Iori would be involved in all this. Goto pops up and says the cramping is from the newly formed nerve connections to the mech, and she just isn't quite used to it yet, but more time in the pilot's seat will fix that. Renya then says the 13 Sentinels is a formidable force, despite pilot inexperience. Sekigahara joins in and says things are going to be worse than they were in Sector 3. Tomi asks if it will really be worse than the attack on her city. The computer warns them kaiju are in range, and the fight is on. Battle continues till the Aegis system finally activates and wipes out all the remaining kaiju on the field. After the fight, Natsuno is relieved the signals are gone, and Yuki wonders why they can't just use the Aegis system like that more often. I believe we've had this conversation with other people already to this date, but Renya decides to say Aegis can't activate unless the kaiju get close. And Ryoko chimes in and says the kaiju are after the UFO mainframe and they're trying to slip into places across the UFO. Renya says if they make it, the world as they know it is as good as gone. So we have to play defense and rely on the Aegis system. Yuki says this makes it sound like humanity's in bad shape, and Renya says they can only protect it until the end. We only actually, as far as I could tell, we only got one truly useful piece of information out there that we didn't have before. And that is that Tomi came out of Sector 3. Copy. Paste. So moving on, video 24 is Ashitaba City Battle 2. We've moved from 5:26 p.m. to 5:39 p.m. Tomi notices that the enemy have an aerial unit now called the Drill Fly, which are excavation units. NG is... Huh?
I'm making helicopter noises.
Daimos go burr. Anyway.
Daimos go burr.
Ninji is kind of unhappy that a flying unit can go underground since he can't reach the aerial units. Takatoshi says...
The Daimos can't go underground! Haha, Daimos go...
Yep. Takatoshi says that an EMP blast will send the flying units to the ground, and Ninji still calls it a pain in the ass. Shu says the loss of the Type 98 tanks influences the design of the Gen 1 Sentinels those two are piloting to focus on close-quarter combat so they have raw power, since they didn't really know they're going to have to face flying units. Ninji asks how he knows, and Shu says it came to him in a dream. The battle starts. The battle finishes and the Aegis system activates, and Shu proclaims that the area is okay. Iori says her head's really hurting and wonders if something's going wrong. Shu also said his head is pounding and asks why. Keitaro says they're just reaching their operating limits and they'll feel better once they're out, as it's an intensive process that pressures the brain, with too much pressure leading to backlash. Ryoko adds in to not overdo it, as she's not responsible if they decouple their brain from their nanomachines. So, they need to take a break unless they want to forget their entire life. Shu remarks on the lack of user-friendliness and tells Iori they should get out. She agrees, and the whole scene ends. Boy, going back across this after what we've seen recently.
Yeah.
We are doing this recap video after the 7th recording session. I will just put it out there. And there are things we've run across that make all of this make so much more goddamn sense.
And you can't talk about it yet.
I can't talk about a damn thing. Not yet. But also, I've just, something else has popped into my head based on what we've read here, and it's another goddamn theory I'm gonna have to talk about next Monday.
Happy hamsters have to happen.
I've already got 3 major ones. I've got 4.
The 4 dark demons of destruction.
Yep. So anyway, video 25. Once again, no strings for that, because as far as, that goes, we didn't really learn anything there. At least nothing overwhelmingly useful. At least nothing I could actually put on the corkboard. There are bits of information tucked away in there, but I can't really put pins and connect the dots with them. But video 25, we're up to Ashitaba City Battle 3. Once again, we've just moved forward about 13 minutes, so now at 5:52 p.m. on May 27th. Natsuno sees a walker and says it kinda looks like a tripod. Homie says it's the high quad and she fought one earlier, and it's basically just a huge crane. Juro says don't underestimate it because it has multiple weapons and defenses, including a plasma cannon that just kinda melts Sentinel armor. Natsuno asks why they weaponized a crane, and Juro replies that once they actually faced resistance, they updated their designs to match ours. Tomi asks if that means they only have weapons because the Sentinels showed up. Juro doesn't really know, but thinks they can still take them down. Megami pops up to say that everything's going to work out, and Tomi asks how she knows, but Natsuno interrupts to say the Kaiju are there and they're toast if they don't win. Battle thus starts. The fight goes on, the fight finishes, Renya confirms Aegis activation, Yuki grumbles about the city being on fire. Natsuno wonders if this is the standard, where, win or lose, thousands of lives are still going to be ruined. Renya says they have evacuation measures in place, but they still need work because they failed to reach out to governments and financial institutions through Shikishima. Tomi asks what the alternatives actually are, because not fighting back isn't one, and notes more kaiju signals are popping up near another terminal. Yuki notes there are a lot of civilians in that way thanks to the highways being backed up. Tomi hopes Miwako isn't stuck on a bus and asks to send out a drone to check on her. Natsuno agrees and hopes her mom and dad made it out after she told them what to do. Was one of you about to say something?
Nope.
Okay. Let's see, where we are at. The Daimos upgraded in response to the Sentinels. Where did I put number 24 there? Cat, not now.
Blackjack's like, I know where it is.
No, he knows where the treats are. I know what. I mean, it's number 24. Where did I put you, number 24? This is the only thing that's going to make this section take a while, is me trying to find the goddamn numbers. Ah, that's why I couldn't see it. Because it's so goddamn cluttered already. So let's see, and then we got connection between Shikishima and Rinya actually confirmed there. I think I just didn't have a better way to phrase this, so I just kind of went, I think we can call that worked for. It may be wildly inaccurate, but hey, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting off of that. Let's see, then video 26 was just me talking more nonsense than I'm talking now. So we move on to video 27. We are still in Ashitaba City battle stations. Battle 4. Once again, we're not too much farther in the future. I think, let's see, yep, we have moved forward about 9 minutes to 6:01 p.m. on May 27th. Sekigahara actually points out a drum mine and says, things aren't going to be pretty now. Yuki asks if it's that bad, and Goto clarifies that those are just large bombs originally meant for excavations, so they're filled with a material called RDX, and they detonate once they find a target. The blast radius can cause a lot of damage. Megami says we might be able to use that, and Goto says if we time it right, we can knock them away right before they detonate into a swarm of their own. Sekigahara wonders if it'll actually be that easy, and Yuki likes the idea. Battle starts.
Yuki would.
Yep. The aftermath of the battle this time. Shu mentions he used to hang out in one of the destroyed areas in middle school, and Ninji just kind of hopes everyone got out okay. Kitaro says it's not easy to see your own homes in flames, and Takatoshi said fighting to defend our homeland means we knew we weren't going to get out unscathed. Ninji asks how many people we're going to lose even if we win, and if any of the city's actually going to be left by the time this is all done. Takatoshi pipes up and says that if we lose, nobody makes it out. And Kitaro asks what anyone else can do but fight back, even if it actually does destroy the city. Another thing that's probably not going to be all that useful, but we have learned the Daimos can use something called RDX to cause explosions. They use self-destruct, and it's super effective if it actually lands.
Friggin' wild graveler encounters, man.
Yep. So now we're up to video 28, and we're finally done with the combat for the rest of this session. So we're actually going to get to stick some things on the corkboard now. In the timeline, we jump all the way back to the first event in the timeline.
uh,
I like how much that makes you laugh. because I remember my reaction to this, which was on the wait, what?
Yeah. Okay, we have the time zones all figured out, and wait, what are they doing?
So, we are now in 2187 at satellite orbit in a long-distance transmission between Keitaro and Natsuno. Natsuno asks what he needed, and he asks what he needs just to hear her voice. She says they're supposed to be working, and asks how everything actually is on his end. He replies that Sector 2's construction is going smoothly, and sustaining his second colony should be soon, within 4 more onwards at most. He asks if she's doing okay, and she's still getting used to zero-G and trying not to puke. Then she says the project has some complications, with an ethics committee breathing down their necks. Keitaro says he didn't know space exploration was a matter of ethics, and she clarifies they're worried about the machine's ability to self-replicate, as they feel it may lead to the invasion of intelligent life. Keitaro mocks the ethics committee, wondering if they're worried about a war with aliens that might not even exist, and that they should be more grounded in reality. Natsuno mocks him back and pokes him about reading his history books 24/7. He says it's fascinating, and he's reading about the Pacific War, which we know is World War II, currently. Natsuno asks if that's the same time this all started, and Keitaro replies it was part of a world war with countless powerful nations that reshaped the way we approach technology and ideology. He continues, saying that if he could pick an era to be born in, he'd pick that one. Natsuno,
He chose poorly.
Yeah, that was... You'll see. That's a thing that I think we get to learn that later.
What era do you want to be born in? I want to be born in World War II!
Yep.
Do you, though? Do you really?
Natsuno says it sounds like a big mess and rejects his offer to send her some light reading about it. When someone with a hyperfixation offers you light reading, it's not going to be light reading. We'll just say that.
So how many more Battletech books do you want?
Exactly. I only have a truckload. Anyway. She asks when it might be possible to meet up again, and it'll be about 420 hours, or about 17 and a half days, until his next time off. He says he'll keep in touch, and they say goodbye. The scene fades out. They fade back in, and we are up to event 34 on the timeline. Back in 1944, Keitaro stands in the school hallway. He meets Takatoshi, who muses about the brand new schoolhouse being empty. Keitaro says all the students are needed at the factories, and Takatoshi says, well, yeah, they are in a state of emergency, but it is still a shame. Keitaro muses about the rumors that the war is hopeless, and then muses further about how Takatoshi was a mess where they grew up together, despite being the same age and a year above him in school, but it seems the guy's found some dignity since he enlisted. This musing causes Takatoshi to ask if Keitaro resents being drafted, and Keitaro only wonders why he, of all people, was chosen. Takatoshi says to calm down and he'll get the honor and privilege to fight for his country before his peers. And also, once he sees something, he'll know the war is won, but Takatoshi can't elaborate on it out in the open because it's a secret weapon that he just mentioned the existence of out in the open. He's really bad at this, guys.
Yeah, just a smith. Listen. Takatoshi is good at hitting things for country. He's not
good at the thinking part of everything.
He is not.
Keitaro then follows that up and asks why students would have access to such secrets. And Takatoshi, once again, they're out in the goddamn open, says they were chosen to pilot a secret weapon, but it's maximum security, so not even their families can know. Again, set out in the open. Takatoshi,
some guy rides by on a bicycle. Well, it's not about secret weapons.
Yep. Takatoshi then confirms that this is a Sentinel, and it'll help gun down enemies at the shores. Again, out in the open. Keitaro sighs and accepts that the Americans really are coming for them. Takatoshi says they've abandoned a lot of overseas posts and will have to finish the fight on the mainland, which leaves their future in the hands of the Sentinels. But the Sentinels do seem to rival at least aircraft carriers or maybe even fleets in terms of pure power, and the fight could eventually be taken to American soil. Someone else comes in the building and Keitaro walks over to see who it is. Turns out Tamao Kurabe and Tsukasa Okino, who is still dressed as Kiriko Doji, enter. Tamao approaches Takatoshi and asks if this is where he's been hiding, remarking that he actually looks like a gentleman now. Tamao says she wanted to see Keitaro off, but when he heard Takatoshi would also be there, she had to come, and she gives Keitaro some ohage, recommending that he share with Takatoshi, but then apologizing because they didn't have a lot of sugar to actually make them sweet. Takatoshi perks up as he's partial to ohage, and Keitaro thanks her. He follows up by asking about the other person who's there, and the other person is introduced as Kiriko-chan from Tokyo, and that Tamao invited her. Takatoshi asks if they've met. After a mild protest, she introduces herself to Keitaro and Takatoshi as Kiriko Doji. Takatoshi kinda stumbles over his own introduction, then puts it together in his head that her father is Professor Haizu Doji. Smooth operator he ain't, we will just say that for this scene. Kiriko hopes that doesn't bother him, and he can only stutter out a "no, far from it," but I never imagined his daughter would be, and as he fades off with this line of thought, Keitaro starts to say that Professor Doji's presence at the armory can only mean something, but Takatoshi interrupts him further, saying that his involvement with the new weapon is confidential, and then just caught himself mentioning the new weapon in front of people that were not involved with this whole thing as far as he knew. Kiriko promises they won't tell, and that Takatoshi seems to actually be a pretty funny guy. Tamao asks where they'll be stationed, and Takatoshi says not far, as the armory isn't far from there either, but it might be a while till they return. State secrets all over the place, out in the open. Thanks, dude.
Good job.
Keitaro thanks Tamao for how kind the Kurabes have been to him, and he'll have to leave his little sister with them. Tamao says they will take good care of Chihiro. Keitaro will visit as soon as he can, and Takatoshi says it is almost time to head out. So yeah, we got a story section, and it takes a little bit longer to get through a story section. So let's see, we have the Ethics Committee. We have Sector 2 mentioned. And then we have a colony ship. So now let's see. Yeah, okay, I know what I did. I know why I did things here. 42. 43 is an update. 44. Okay, we're gonna have a few new strings here. I doubled up on a string number, but they are updates. I don't care. I only vaguely remember why I did that. So let's see. We have a colony ship that we have actually seen Keitaro working on. We're all the way down here. Let's see. Ethics committee here. Annoys not to know. I mean, that's putting it mildly, but still. Okay, let's see. I gotta find that one particular string here. I think it's this one. Yeah, that's it. We learned that those two grew up together. Those two being Takatoshi and Kitaro. Let's see, where did I put you, Tamao? Tamao's card is on here somewhere.
Yeah, Tamao.
You were the friends with Takatoshi. This will be another update here. Let's see. Takatoshi. I figure out which string is the right one here. Yeah, this one. Takatoshi pretty much develops almost immediate crush on Tsukasa. Am I wrong? No.
You are not.
Oh yeah, that's why. Let's see. I gotta hit the right string. That will help. Aww. It didn't save what I needed it to save last time. It didn't save it this time. Not that anyone really cares too much about what's on these strings because you can't see it. It's mostly just my notes. Let's see. Yep, Natsuno and Tamao. Mao took care. Gitaro's sister. Which was over here. Yeah, the one major flaw with this website, when you put data in a string, it's kind of hit or miss about actually saving it. Okay, and that's all the strings we get to add there. We move on to video 29. A few months later, we are now at event 92. So we move on to Tokasaka Shrine. Kitaro runs in, wondering what he just saw when he saw a flash of light come from the area. He muses that Kiriko has gone missing and Heizo has gone silent ever since that event, but that event is not listed as to what it is. Air raids have also been plaguing the region for months, and the US is kinda close to destroying Japan. He thinks about the Sentinel and how he's been selected to pilot, and wonders if it might have been a god that he saw with a flash of light, and then sighs at his wasted first day off, and that his sister Chihiro is probably worried about him. He then hears a noise behind a tree and confronts it, saying he knows someone there and to state their name. Natsuno, who's been hiding behind the tree, tries to flee, but Kitaro catches her. He tries to confront her directly, but her lack of pants kinda makes him blush and forces him to avert his eyes. She muses that gym clothes may not have been the best choice, and Kitaro tells her it's just kinda dangerous to be out here, and offers to escort her home.
Especially with no pants.
Especially with no pants. He introduces himself, says he's stationed at the armory, but is off duty at the moment. She introduces herself and says that her home may be a bit of a complicated question as to where it is. But she's saved when explosions are heard in the distance, and this prompts Keitaro to run and check on them. Another air raid is started, and the factory is the target, but that's kinda near where the Karabes live. Keitaro tells Natsuno to stay there where it's safe, but BJ prompts her to follow him. The scene fades out and fades back in to event 93 in the timeline. Keitaro runs into the scene where there's a lot of splintered wood and rubble on fire. Natsuno follows in close behind, and Keitaro is angry Natsuno followed him, but he has to forge ahead to reach the house where his sister is staying. Did one of you two say something?
Nope.
Not yet.
It must have been a car going by in the background or something.
Yeah, they're like a motorcycle or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Natsuno wonders why they'd attack houses, and Kitaro says there's a munitions factory in Higoromocho, so they leveled the entire neighborhood. Kitaro finds the ruins of the Karabe house and realizes it must have been directly hit. He yells out for Chihiro and Tamao, but after a quick search, he only finds a stuffed rabbit Chihiro carries around. After a few moments, Chihiro runs out and reaches Keitaro, and he's relieved to see her safe, with Tamao close behind. They'd run for the shelters as soon as the siren sounded, so they ended up being safe. Chihiro, however, ran off alone to reach the house when she realized no one would be there to greet Keitaro if he came home. Natsuno approaches, asking if everyone's safe, when a high-quad walker approaches. Keitaro assumes this to be an American weapon and ushers everyone out of the area. Scene fades out and fades back in to the four of them have fled the original area, with Tamao now looking back across the river and how everything over on the other side is on fire. Keitaro says they look to be headed toward Kamazumi next. Chihiro calls out for Keitaro. Natsuno wonders why they're in this era, and Keitaro reasons to Tamao the walkers have to be American because of the industrial edge the Americans have. Keitaro asks Tamao to keep watching Chihiro and tells Chihiro to obey her. He then asks Tamao to look after Natsuno before declaring he's headed back to the armory to get in the Sentinel and fight the new weapons off. Natsuno asks BJ if he heard it, and he only prompts her to just keep her following in response. Natsuno follows in hot pursuit.
Damn American robots.
Damn American robots.
This is not piloted by a little shit kid.
Yeah.
That was the China one.
Yeah.
G Gundam. I should add Sai Saishi to the cliff list. My least favorite of the main five in G Gundam. By a lot. By a lot.
So we just have to Mao being asked to watch Natsuno there. We're up to video 30 here, which means this is the penultimate video in this set. We have an event that's not exactly listed in the timeline here. We know it may just be an alternate variation on event 116 or happen sometime very shortly after thereof, as it's now 1985 and Keitaro stands on the bank of the Kaede River. He muses that no matter where he is, the sunsets are always the same and takes advantage of the lack of population in the vicinity. He's sad about the lack of stars, but thinks the city's skylights are a sight to behold. He looks at a building under construction and thinks about how the Sentinel that brought him there is still hidden behind all the curtains. He muses over how time travel still kind of feels like a fantasy and wonders if the Sentinel could really do it. He then kind of is reminded of a sci-fi novel his gave him about traveling through time and how his Sentinel just seems to have made the fantasy a reality. We shift back, scene fades out, and now we are in event 96. We are back in 1945 and Keitaro is back in the fight. His Sentinel is just about exhausted, but there are still hordes of kaiju in front of him. He mentions he still has about 2 minutes until his operating limit and starts to resume the attack, but the Sentinel just kind of shifts to 1985. Fade out, fade back in to event 97. The Sentinel has reached its limit and just kind of unceremoniously dumps Keitaro out onto the broken cement below. Keitaro looks around, sees skyscrapers, and can't quite figure out exactly where he is. He only remembers being surrounded and then the flash of the shift. He assumes he and the Sentinel have been captured because this is what he imagined American cities look like, but then he realized not enough time has passed. He looks at the city again and can't imagine it being anything other than the US, so he assumes that this is where he's going to die, as he'll face the enemy even without the Sentinel, but then kind of realizes he can't just leave the Sentinel laying around because it's still kind of top secret.
You're really bad at the top secret thing still.
Now, he's not as bad as Takatoshi is.
True.
And, I mean, he didn't have a choice in this. It just kind of dumped him and it's like, now what do I do? But he does realize he needs to lie low until the Sentinel recovers, and he needs to hide before the US soldiers show up. And he runs off. We fade out. We fade in. We are now still in 1985, but Keitaro is in the shopping district and notes that everyone here actually appears to be Japanese, and all the signs have both kanji and English writing. The signs also label everything as his hometown of Ashitaba. He overhears a pair of guys talking about arcades and new Sega machines, and while he doesn't understand what they're saying, the language doesn't quite sound foreign. He sees a pair of female students talking about TV, and other than how much leg they're showing off, he notices they may just kind of be speaking a strange dialect, but they are actually speaking Japanese. He realizes he's not in America, but if this is Japan, it still kind of feels off, so it may be a dream because he knows the Sentinels do interfere with brain function, but that was an assumed risk according to Haizudoji. This has happened before, as he did have a similar illusion during the Sentinel sync test. From off-screen, Shu and Ninji walk in, and Keitaro stares at them for having boys' uniforms but girls' haircuts. Ninji takes offense to this and kind of squares up with him, asking him what he's looking at. Keitaro remarks on the especially strange haircut Ninji has, and Ninji asks him if he really is looking to get his ass kicked. Keitaro thinks he's finally gone crazy. Ninji finally reaches his limit and just swings his bag and knocks Keitaro out with one good swing. Shu attempted to intervene, but lunged in a little bit too late to stop the guy. The scene fades out. The scene fades back into Event 100, where Keitaro wakes up in Shu's apartment, recalling the hit he got from Ninji. or as he put it, the guy with the weird haircut.
I have a sword, you're mission.
He thinks he might be in a military facility of some type because of, well, all the monitors floating around, and explores the room. He looks at the TV and thinks it's classified military technology because it's something on the Sentinel, until he sees that it's just kind of showing a baseball game and realizes this may not be a military base. He looks at the calendar that reads 1985 and thinks, okay, that's an illusion. He sees a collection of foreign phonograph records and remember Takatoshi let him listen to his collection. But this collection is quite a bit bigger than the one the Hijiyamas have. Keitaro finds textbooks on the desk, and the subjects they cover convinces him he is still in Japan, but reading the history book reveals that Japan surrendered in 1945 after Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed. He reads about the U.S.-Japan Treaty in 1951, the Tokyo Olympics in '64, and after looking at the calendar again, he realizes that he might have just made it to the future. Shu walks in with a can of soda from the fridge and hands it to Keitaro, asking if he's okay. Keitaro takes a sip, and the carbonation really surprises him, as the closest he's ever had is Ramoon soda at a festival in Tsutsuji when he was a kid. They introduce themselves, and Shu mentions they're in his apartment in Kamazumi. After he was knocked out, Shu called a taxi and brought him here. He said Ninji was already pissed from being chewed out, and Keitaro just kind of pushed him over the edge. But Ninji is kind of close to being suspended, so it'd be nice if there could be a peaceful resolution. Keitaro asks what year it is, and Shu says, well, you didn't really get hit that hard. It's still good old 1985. This game and its obsession with food and drink make me put Ramoon soda on this board.
This is not going to be my favorite food item. Actually, my favorite food item from the game is on here already.
Yeah.
But this isn't even
second favorite. We'll get there when we get there.
We haven't even gotten to the best moment with that yet.
So let's see. We know Shu hangs out with Ninji. Which I will say this, I had kind of forgotten about that by the time it came up again.
That is fair, because you don't see them together a lot for a while, until you suddenly see them together a lot.
Yep. I'll just put that here. Okay, and then the last one. Okay, good. I misclicked that and grabbed the whole board and dragged it. That didn't help me. And Ninji just kind of knocked the hell out of Keitaro there. And that is it for video 30. So we move on to video 31, the last one in the set for today. We don't know what event this is because it's not listed in the timeline, but we start with Shu, who is walking through the third floor school hallway. He yawns and kind of drumbles about the strange dreams keeping him up at night, along with the show that spoke to him. He kind of muses about his Shikishima GRD 250 motorcycle, which he drove to school today, and parked in the shopping district so the school couldn't gripe about it. He kind of holds a freaking massive key, which apparently is the motorcycle key, and it looks very similar to a key that Sekigahara had on him at an earlier point in view, but we don't know anything about that yet. And I mean, we don't even know anything about it after Session 7, so I don't know if it's ever going to come up again. But he thinks further and recalls that Miyuki Inaba was the pop star that messaged Shu through the TV, but he realizes that he can't really talk to anyone about that, or they'd kind of have him committed. He then thinks about Yuki, and his crush develops a little bit harder for her, and then goes to look for her in Class 1A, but she's not around. He then shrugs and goes to look for Juro in Class 1B to talk about his dreams, but Juro's not there, but might be in the passageway outside. Tomi and Miwako emerge from 1A, and Shu says he's having trouble getting Tomi out of his head because of the dreams. He decides not to keep Juro waiting and goes to the passageway and... No, okay, never mind. No, I was about to make a connection there, but it's like, oh wait, we've already made that connection. So he goes to the passageway and the scene fades out. It fades back in and we are at Vent 153. In the passageway, Shu sees Keitaro and BJ looking at each other, and Shu approaches Miura and greets him. Shu asks if he's still on the run, and Miura says he can't go home and it wouldn't solve anything if he did. Shu says that kind of sounds rough and offers to let him use his place anytime he needs it. Keitaro says he's staying with an acquaintance right now. Shu asks about BJ, and before Keitaro could say anything, BJ just tells him not to forget his promise, turns into the helicopter mode, and BJ go burr off into the sky. Shu assumes that it's just kind of an RC robot, and gets a case of deja vu and says he had a dream with Keitaro in it and wonders if that's Miura's secret, that he's a runaway hero from a ruined future that came back to save everyone. Shu is joking, and Keitaro seriously considers the thing for a second. Shu says he hopes things get better for Keitaro and that, hey, he can talk to him anytime if he actually needs it. Shu ponders about his dreams as Keitaro walks away, saying they're all futuristic and crazy, even one dream in particular which he starts to recall. We zoom back a good ways on the timeline, back to Event 14, and the dream starts with Shu standing in a war zone with ruined buildings and broken streets in the year 2025, specifically Tomi's apartment. He wonders if his scouter drone managed to see them and goes to talk to a nearby Tomi. She's staring at the ruined building and talks about a cake shop on the first floor, which had an amazing pear tart. This will never come up again. She keeps going to see them, and she keeps going on about how everything is destroyed until Shu asks if she'll be okay. Shu says she had to get that out. And Shu just kind of says, hey, I'm still tuned in to see you, despite the scratchy throat she has. And then suggests they get to the cross-country road in hopes of finding a rescue copter. But Tomi says all that's up there are weird bug things, and that nothing's getting updated online, so it looks like this might be worldwide, as she saw everyone in the city just kind of vanish at once, and she's kind of betting her mom and dad also vanished. Shu didn't understand, as the aliens clearly have them outclassed in tech, but even with all the power, all they do is kind of show up in a horde, dig holes, and then stop and just sit there. Not everyone vanishes, as Shu and Tomi are still there. Tomi just thinks Shu is being all calm, but Shu admits to be actually freaking out on the inside, and the ground shakes. Shu kind of reacts to try to protect Tomi, and she wonders when he got to be cool, as he was just a big nerd when she knew him in middle school. He says he heard she liked the tough guys and tried to change to be one, but apparently he missed the mark somewhere. She says he was popular enough, but he goes further, asking her about F8, or Fate, and says that's his username online. Tomi says Fate was the reason she advanced so far in singing because of all his motivation and praise, and she's just about to admit she had feelings for him when Keitaro runs in from the left. He's shocked to see other survivors and calls over Chihiro. Introductions all around, and we finally learn that Shu's name in this scene is Tetsuya Ida. And need 2 cards. I'm going to need 4 of these. F8 being a nickname for Shu there. Specifically Tetsuya, but you know.
I love that Layla pretty quickly put Tetsuya on the cliff list.
We can't
And
talk
I'm like,
about that though. I want to talk about it, but we can't talk about it here. I have to wait till Monday or offline or something.
The cliff list is a powerful document.
The cliff list is a powerful document. And let's see, there's the motorcycle that Shu drives. We don't know about the details here, but at some point, BJ got a promise from Keitaro details would be nice, but hey, what do you expect? Let's see. Shu and Tomi here are middle school classmates. I'm expecting bursting out laughing from you guys about that one. Because of things that will happen later.
I'm waiting for the point where you have to totally, like, revamp the entire corkboard.
It won't be much longer.
And it won't be the only time!
No, it won't. Lousy early to mid-game revelations.
Yeah. You know, the final one of these recap videos, you're going to get through making the entire corkboard, and you're going to be like, oh look, it makes a pattern, and then suddenly you're just going to click something, and it's just go to a picture of, like, you flipping us off.
See, I'd actually considered that. Just a picture of me extending the middle finger right towards you.
Yep. God, I love this game.
I showed you guys the whole System is Down series, right?
I can't remember.
Damn it. There's a scene in The System is Down that comes to mind with these. There's a... I think if you remembered it, you would know exactly what I'm referencing right now. The sales guy had a laptop for years and years. He calls in to get tech support on it, And then tech support sees his desktop has the icons arranged in a very special way. Yeah, I'll have to show that to you. I will have to find that and show it to you again. But as of now, this is session 3's corkboard. The hamsters are not happy or happening.
We haven't gotten to peak hamster yet.
No, we have not. And it already looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that will do it for this. That will do it for this one. This has been an hour-long recap to get through that.
Yep.
So, everybody take care. And be glad your hamsters are not on strike.
Hamtaro, when we work together, it's much better.
I mean, they unionized, so they are working together. Anyway, that'll do it for now. So, until next time, get your tinfoil hats made.
But I only have aluminium!
Then you're fucked!
Damn it!
Take care, everyone.
Later.
Bye-bye.